The most wealthy men and women in all of human history have done this one thing. These can and will lift you out of poverty if you do them faithfully and long enough. I'd like you to look at the difference between where you are and wealth. I want you to look at it as a curve. Because if it is a curve, you can move along that curve. You can go from where you are now to your goals. But if you buy into that thinking that says rich people are just a different species, then instead of a curve, there's just a chasm. There's a hole. There is an absolute void between where you are and where you want to be. And if you don't believe that it's possible to move along that transition, you don't act in ways that start to move you there. The starting point is the belief that it is possible. There are three things that money is not. Money is not the root of all evil. That's not what the verse says. What does the verse say? The love of money. And it also doesn't say is the root of all evil. It says something down the lines of is the root of many kinds of evil. Now think about what that belief would do to Christian families, people of faith, if it becomes a locked-in belief and it's handed down generation to generation. Money is the root of all evil. Okay, so if I chase it, there's something wrong with me. You can't hold that belief and become wealthy. And that's one of those things that we need to chuck out. It's a misquote of the original verse and it's damaging. It does a lot of harm, particularly to people of faith. The first thing money is not, the root of all evil. The second thing money is not, embarrassing. Could you be rich with a straight face? Time to face that question, because you are on a career trajectory that can potentially make you very wealthy. Could you handle it? What kind of human being would you be once you get there? Wealth simply makes you an amplified version of yourself. If you're a horrible person, a rich version of you is going to be a horrible person who's able to do more. If you're a good person who likes to help others, a rich version of you will be an amplified version of that. Money is not embarrassing, and if we are embarrassed by money, it changes a number of things. Around the dinner table as a family, we won't talk about it. No, the middle classes like to talk about how hard we're working. But we never talk about how to earn money or how to lose money, all of the rules of money. You get into the home of wealthy people and that's what they talk to their children about because they think it's important. Money is not embarrassing, we must talk about it. And number three, money is not finite. It is not finite. It is not a limited resource. I have a friend, she is a qualified lawyer, and what she then did, because she was married to a guy who was quite wealthy, she said, I'm not going to practice law. Because if I practice law, I get a salary and that means slightly less money for other people. Folks, the thinking is wrong. She has the world's best intentions there, but what she's actually doing is failing to contribute a little bit to the total amount of money available. Work doesn't take money out of a system, it adds it to it. The more people we have running their own businesses, the more people we have selling, the more people we have doing stuff, the more there is for all. Bring your skill to this country. Bring your talent. Earn money for yourself. The more you have, the more there is in totality. Have you ever heard of Samsung? Have you ever heard of any of the Korean car brands? Hyundai and what's the other one? Kia, and they are absolutely conquering the world right now because what they've decided to do is to grow. Bring your skill, grow the country. We need entrepreneurs. We often talk about how much we need jobs. You can't falsely create a job. My next question to you is why the heck would you want a job? You can't get wealthy in a job. But that's what we're taught as middle class people. We're taught be like everyone else, get a good, safe job. Okay? We'll talk about that one in just a moment as well. There's a fantastic book, and when I'm king of the world, I'm going to make it mandatory reading for everyone. It's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about the difference between people who fail and succeed in anything. And he talks about how in wealthy families, they teach their children something very different to what is taught in middle class and poorer families. And it's just how to interact with authority. The middle classes and poorer people are taught to fear authority. And it's industrial revolution thinking. You've got to fear the guy who runs the factory because he owns your life. Okay? And it goes like this. Let's take a practical example. They do this one in the book. He says, you're taking your child to the dentist. The middle-class family will teach the child that the dentist is God. He has studied for 8 years and he knows everything there is to know. You, as the child, must shut up, sit down, keep quiet, and even if it hurts, don't cry. Just wait for it to be over. Do whatever he tells you to do. Now, in wealthy families, they approach the exact same situation completely differently. Driving to the dentist's office, they tell the child, the dentist is your friend. He has studied for 8 years so that he can serve you properly. How's that? The dentist is a resource that you can use. If you have any questions about your mouth, about your teeth, about anything that you want to know there, you must ask the dentist because it's his job to help you. Now take that kind of thinking, that's a simple example, going to the dentist. Take that kind of thinking and amplify it over the next 20 years. Which of those two kids is going to do well in life? You've got one who's taught to fear authority, shut up, keep your voice down, don't make waves, and the other one who's taught the world is there for you to utilize. It's all resources, you can use it to your own ends. Imagine the difference that would make. We have been conned into an industrial revolution myth that says authority is in charge and knows best, you must shut up and do what you're told. You must be a cog in a system. And as long as you are doing your job perfectly and not making waves, you'll be fine. That thinking is 100 years outdated. We cannot teach it any longer. There are the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis that slowly, gradually move you up that curve toward wealth. And if you keep doing them slowly and consistently and gradually every single day, ultimately your life is going to improve. And you must do those things. There's a speaker in the States these days who has an interesting concept, and I believe it. He says, you are likely to be about as wealthy and about as successful as the average of the 5 people closest to you. Think about that for a second. Who are your closest 5? It's likely to be probably something like mom, dad, best friend, boss, teacher, something down those lines. Chances are it's those people. How wealthy are they? I'm sorry to ask the question, but apparently those stats bear out, because what happens is we get involved in an ecosystem of thinking. And we all affect one another with our level of aspiration, our level of ideas, our thinking about work and wealth, and we all average each other out. There's something you can do about this one. You don't have to dump your mom, okay? You don't have to dump the best friend, anything down those lines. What it is saying is we do need to associate with highly successful individuals. We need to expose ourselves to that kind of thinking. Unless we do, we are not going to lift ourselves up. But the thinking is out there. And quite often, people are quite willing to be mentors, friends, to share answers, share ideas. Sometimes they're not. It's always worth asking, worth the approach. You are likely to be about as wealthy or about as successful as the average of the 5 people closest to you. Give yourself permission to fail. It's okay. It's only a bit of embarrassment. It's only a bit of skin off the knees. It's only picking yourself up and trying again. They think differently in California to what we think here. If a guy here started up a business and failed, banks won't touch him with a barge pole. In California, the banks and the financiers seek out the people who have tried and failed before, because they reckon that person has learned valuable lessons along the way. Give yourself permission to fail. Here's a revolutionary thought. Give other people permission to laugh at you and mock you for trying. Let that be okay. Say, I know my family's not going to understand. I know my friends are going to laugh at me. They're going to tell me this is crazy, you should play it safe and get a job. Give them permission to think that way. Give them permission to laugh at you. Give yourself permission to try and fail. You need the space, you need the leeway. Be kind to yourself. You are not separated from your goals by a number of years. You are separated from your goals by a number of actions. And that's completely different. Years are an abstract concept. That's like saying 10, 20 years from now, I'll be wealthy. It's not up to years. It's up to you and your actions. That puts the ball back in your hand. That gives you control. That gives you the power. You are not separated from your goals by a number of years. you are separated from your goals by a number of actions. The word is, as a man thinks, so is he. So ladies and gentlemen, don't think poor.